All right, hello everyone and welcome to this video demonstration where we want to showcase Camel Designer combined with JBang to really showcase how fast you can iterate over the code and construct a process from scratch. So what we see on screen is VS Code where Camel Designer will be running. We see that our temporary, our working directory is empty. There's just this one file, random users, that we want to use for our demo. Otherwise, there's no other elements here. So with this black canvas, we can open Camel Designer. And here it is. And basically what we want to do is start with the basics. We want to invoke a certain public API and see how that is done. For that, we are going to use this server, that is on the internet called Random Data API that offers a number of APIs to obtain random data. And we have as well some documented query parameters that we can use to play with. So, right, so if we start with the very minimum, we want to actually put a timer just to kick off the process. We want to put an HTTPS activity, and then what we want to do is just to log the output, just to check that we are doing the right thing. We are going to print the body of so that's the response of the HTTP activity. And just we want to configure here an option on the timer activity to say that we want this to only trigger once to make things easy on the demo. So repeat count, and we say 1. And with that, we see that already Camel Designer is generating some code on the left using the Camel language. And what is left for us to do really is to configure the HTTPS activity. So we open this inputs configuration, which is the new feature in Camel Designer. And we can define here the host name. So here we are going to say that we want to use the random data API server.com. And then we want to specify the API we want to invoke. So we say API/users/random user. Right, so we click enter, and with that, I think we're done. So what we are going to do is save this file, and on the terminal with Camel JBang that we can execute with Camel run random data, and then we put the flag reload, which is going to capture all our code updates automatically and then hot deploy that very rapidly. Then we can press enter and see what happens. JBang would kick off Apache Camel, and let's see if the output or the result of that confirms that we've done the right things. And when it executes, let's see, Apache Camel started, and actually we are getting an error, so let's just quickly see. It appears that we have an HTTP failure. Status code is 404, so somehow we did something wrong with the API. So if we look at it very quickly, that's random data API and users. Oh, actually that's not a dash, but should be an underscore. So we change that to be an underscore, and then we can save the changes here in VS Code, and Camel JBang should quickly pick that up, and then there you go. So we have the changes here. It says we have the JSON response obtained from the endpoint, and we see that we have here a first name and last name. So we are happy with that. And well, now actually for this process definition, our goal is to obtain not just one user, but multiple. And then for each individual, then get some other couple of pieces of data and then save that to the file system. So let's use one of the documented query parameters to grab more than one user. So that's the size. So as you can see, I define a new parameter there. I can set the value to be that we want 2 individuals for not making this demo too complicated. And now if I click save, we should see JBang kicking off once again, and this time we get an array with a couple of entries. So we are happy with that. It is doing what we expected. Right, so we can close that configuration. We have a couple of users, and we can carry on with the definition. So I'm going to delete this log file because this log printout we don't need, and then split, use the API, EIP splitter there that you can see with that little animation on screen. And basically here we can define the expression language that we are going to use. So JQ comes perfect for JSON manipulation, and basically we are going to say, right, for each one of those nodes, split the payload, and then we are just going to validate that the splitting happens correctly by logging out the payload once again. And if we click save, then we should get some feedback from JBang that very quickly redeploys the new definition. And this time we see that it is pre-printed by JQ, and we do see one printout here with one message splitted. We see first name, last name, and the other piece is here. So I'm happy with that, and we can then keep going. So I want to actually store this in a property variable, and because what we are going to do is grab some contact information from this individual and an address, and then store all of that in a file. So I'm going to use this information here to say that this is going to be an individual property in the visual property, and I'm going to say it's save its value to be so actually I'm going to use here the JQ expression once more, and I want to define this as the first name, and I'm going to concatenate that with dot last name. And this should define the file name that I want to use to create that file. So I'm going to close this. And now we can invoke the other two APIs from the same demo server to grab contact information. So I'm going to use here again the HTTPS activity. And again, I want to keep the response in a property variable. So I'm going to say, right, this is going to be the contact info. Enter, and then I can clear this value, and then I can just simply drag and drop the body from that response and map it into this variable, and there it is. It's going to solve the syntax for us. We can close that, and what we need to do now is just to configure this invocation. So once again, we know that we want to call this endpoint, so that's random data API.com. Right, so what we want to do this time is to invoke this operation API phone number underscore please number, and we say random underscore phone number. Right. We need to indicate this is a get operation, otherwise Camel is going to post these with the current payload, and I believe this is all that we need. If that goes well, we are going to trust it goes well. I'm not going to execute it yet. But then we want, so that was for the contact information. We are going to also grab an address. So I'm going to make a second API call, and very similarly, it's going to look almost the same. We are going to clear that. So we are going to say random data API.com, but this time is going to be an address. So API slash address random underscore address, and then just to say that this is again a get operation. And with this, we have all the information that we want, really. So we have the individual We've split in that. We get contact information, we get address information, and all that is left for us to do really is to define the file activity to write this to disk. So we can open and configure that. And you see that we have there an option, the file name, to define with a default value that we can clear. And we are going to use the individual name, first name and last name that we defined earlier. So we can drag this directly into the file name. And as for the contents of the file, we can define that here by clicking and defining the body. And we want to drag here we want to aggregate the contact information on one hand, and then as well the address that we obtained that is currently sitting on the body, and drag that there. And as you can see, this is populating the body, but then we are going to give it a little bit of format so that it is more readable. So I'm going to say, right, so this is going to be the contact information, so contact colon, and then we open a new line and we say this is the address colon, right? Right, so with that, I think we are ready, really. So we have defined, as you can see, the file name here, and then we have defined the body with the contact information and address, right? So let's save this file. And when I click save, again, JBang should execute. If there's any problem, we should see, but it doesn't appear so. We see that it has printed some payload, so I'm assuming that everything went according to plan, and those files have been created. And that's something we can double check on our working directory. We do see that it has opened a new directory file, and we see Mari Kupal and Mikhail Jacobi, files that have been created. If I open those files, we see that the information is there. So we have some contact information. We see the phone number with the data and some other things. And then we see the address information here also written on disk. And we have a second one, Mikhail Jacobi, that is going to look very similar to that. And with that, well, really the demo, that's all I wanted to show in the demo. We can just quickly overview the process, and you see how quickly from scratch we have defined this beautiful integration that basically is obtaining user information, splitting that, and then per individual we are calling, obtaining contact, getting an address, and then writing that to file. And with the JBang, you see how it is easy to work really fast with these fast iteration cycles that are ideal to explore and experiment, and that empowers a lot developers. All right, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the demo. Bye.